Good afternoon, everybody. Today we have a very important guest with us. It's Shashani, the Consul General of Midwest India of Israel. And as you know, that Israel is facing a very tough time right now. It suffered infiltration of an unprecedented scale by Hamas terrorists on Saturday. And now Israel is fighting back, and it's day four, I think, of the events. And the fighting is still going on as we speak, but I would like to have a conversation with Mr. Shoshani about how the situation is and what are the takeaways for the world. Many of your countrymen, even the UN ambassador of Israel, has said that this is Israel's 9/11. But I think it's probably far worse than 9/11 because proportionately the kind of the losses that you have suffered, the civilian losses you have suffered is far, far more than what the US suffered on 9/11. What's your take on it?
First of all, thank you very much, Shefali. I think it's a very hard days in Israel, definitely. I don't know how to define it, 9/11, 26 September, Yom Kippur War, a war of independence. I don't know how to define it. Definitely, it's a very hard days in Israel. You have to understand, and the audience need to understand what is Israel. When we are talking about more than 1,000 people, it means that everyone in Israel, every family in Israel knows someone
Yes.
that or kidnapped. That's the meaning of that. And more than that, I think that this brutal criminal terrorists, I don't even can define them as a terrorist because they are not human beings. If you are treated kids, women, elderly people in such a way, you're animal on two legs, and you will pay the price for it. I tell you why. Because you touch our historical nerves. And when you touch our historical nerves, you will pay the price, such a price that haven't been shown still in the Middle East. Our Prime Minister make it very clear. It's going to be a long war. It's going to be a tough war. We are going to pay more casualties maybe. And maybe we'll pay a financial price for it. But the people in our hostile neighborhoods will understand that something like that will not happen again because the damage and the result and the price they are going to pay will be in such a way dramatic. I'm
very,
making,
very
I'm Shefali, I know, Israel, it's not, as I told you, it's not easy time. And I try to be sometimes a little bit, realistic. But when I become realistic, the reality becomes even harder. They are going to pay a price that haven't been seen in the Middle East before. With Israel, never ever touch our historical nerves. When you touch it, India and Israel, have a long history, a long custom and tradition. I know that you are one of the biggest representative of the Indian culture and tradition. When you touch our historical backgrounds, you have to know that the price is unbelievable. Today in Israel, we'll start to bury our people who been killed in a brutal way. I cannot define it as less than a massacre. But they made something that they make the biggest mistake. They unify the state of Israel in such a way that everyone in Israel give our government, our special forces, our army, the time to do whatever they want. First of all, to punish these criminals. And it's not going to take in one day. It will take years.
You're absolutely right when you said that the state of Israel is at war, and that's what your Prime Minister has also said. And it's not a war that Israel had asked for. It's not a war that Israel has wanted. It's a war that has been thrust on Israel. And the attack, the sheer audacity of this attack by attacking civilians. And as you've said, innocent children, elderly citizens, even those people who had come for the music festival. And I think one of the greatest massacres was at the music festival. But my question to you is, and this is an elephant in the room, for a country that prides itself on its defense, for a country that prides itself on its intelligence and its deterrent capabilities, how could an attack like this happen? I mean, how could nobody get an idea about what was going to happen?
Shefali, it's a good question. It's a hard question. Most of this is, I think, the most common question right now in all channels in Israel. I have, of course, it was a big mistake. It's a failure of our intelligence. We didn't know. It was a big surprise. I cannot say more than that. But right now in Israel, the common thinking is leave it aside right now. We will investigate and we find out what's happened. Right now, and we finish our first part, is to clear up and to control the south part of Israel. Now we have the time, first of all, to punish terrorists. Terrorists should not be live in this area. If you are a terrorist, you have to be worried. You have to know that your life is shortened because you are a terrorist. This is our DNA. This is our conception. We have long history, like India. We have pride. We have respect. And when you touch, and you are also, family people. When something happened to our families, something happened to our women, something happened to our kids, something happened to our parents. The one who did it, will have to run to his life, his short life from now on. Doesn't matter what's going to be. What's happened, what's going to be the price. The other side will understand that if you touch our families, he has to run away from now on. And believe me, he has to run for a very short time because we will achieve.
This is not just an attack on Israel. If you see the victims and if you see their nationalities, there are Americans, there are Germans, there are Mexicans, there are Thai people, there are Nepalis, there are Indians. Everybody has been affected by it. So it's actually, in that sense, it's not just an attack on Israel. It's a global terror attack. And right now, the world has full sympathy and support for Israel because it sees the sheer horror of what's happening. But my question to you is, in a few days, as Israel mounts its response, and its response is going to be brutal, and as you can already see that. So, as your minister has said, that when Israel turns from victim to victor, do you think the world will continue to support you? I know it should, but do you think it will continue to support you?
First of all, we saw the states like India. I call them the good states, the democratic states. India is one of them. Your prime minister made it in a very clear voice. And you saw even my tweet, and you saw, of course, the prime minister tweet. It was a very clear voice. And I think we would like to get fully support. But in this case, when you open our historical wounds, right now is not the most important thing for us. Right now, they have to pay the price. I don't. Let me not speak in a diplomatic way. We don't care right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we don't care. We will do the utmost, first of all, to punish these terrorists, and they will pay the price.
So right now, actually, Hamas has a lot of Israeli civilians as well as some Israeli soldiers as hostages. And there have been some terrible threats by the Hamas spokesperson yesterday evening. I heard that if Israel doesn't stop the attacks or doesn't stop bombing the buildings, they are going to do terrible things to the hostages. So is the government, I know that the government is not going to stop pounding Gaza because that's a price that Hamas has chosen to pay. But are there also negotiations backdoor, or is it something that you are at liberty to discuss?
Right now, I don't know what is the negotiation happened with Hamas with the third party. I assume that within a few hours, electricity will be stopped in no fuel, no electricity, no water in Gaza. And I don't know how afterwards we can communicate with them because not like others, they are in the shelters. They are down in the tunnels behind, down to Gaza State. But we know how to reach them. But I don't think that they dare to do so because if they will dare to do so, they consider in our terms dead completely.
Okay. What is your take on the thought leaders or on on journalists who have been specifically not condemning the Hamas attacks, but they will be the first one to accuse Israel of human rights violations. They are talking about the Hamas terror attacks when it's very clear that they are brutal terror attacks as quote unquote resistance. How do you think the Israeli narrative war should be against this?
We get used to it. It's not something that surprise us. Journalists that covering in Muslim or Arabs or sometimes Palestinian terrorist groups is not new for us. It's something that we know for many years. There is a lot of propaganda and a lot of sometimes happiness in the other side. But right now we are in a position that it's not important for us.
Okay. As an Israeli, and I know you've spoken about this, you've seen that this country now is like united like never before. How does that make you feel as an Israeli citizen?
Very proud. I tell you that there is a fight inside Israel. Who is going to be first? Uh, there is a lot of Israeli traveling in India. I tell you as a sample. They called me. They
Mm.
said, "Please help me to get the flight back to Israel. I would like to be the first volunteer. I want to be to help. I mean, all the Israelis, they are soldiers. Yes, they would like to go and to help the country because what's happened here, it's unbelievable. That's the first thing. And believe me, there is a press over even the prime minister and the minister of foreign affairs to arrange flights, even from India, special flights to bring the fighters, the good Israeli spirit again. But Israel is a small country. We don't need so many, but right now we have to be prepared for a long battle, and we
Mhm.
have to arrange the forces in such a way that we will have a long battle against these criminals. And it's going to be long and hard. And we need them. And it's make me as an Israeli very proud of them. You can see, people who organize, and there is a lot of volunteers that actually donating money for food for the soldiers to give them, better clothes and things like that. And you will see hundreds of people in Israel in the junctions waiting for the special forces, the army, to give them. This is something that also is not surprising me because you have to know Israel. This is part of the Israeli spirit. When we are
Yes.
attacked, we are together.
Absolutely. And it's very heartening to see that as a friend of Israel. Why do you think Hamas chose this time and this for such an audacious attack? They've never tried something of this scale before. Do you think it is to derail the normalization efforts between Saudi and Israel? Is that the aim, or are they trying to establish themselves as the primary force and not the Palestinian Authority, or is it a combination of both?
Definitely, it was, the date was important for them because they remember 1973,
Yeah,
which we call the October War. In Israel, we call it Yom Kippur War.
yeah.
Uh, October War, they choose it one day before. After, sorry, Yom Kippur was on the 6th, and this is the 7th of October. There is, of course, international involvement here,
Mhm.
and they make something which make us surprised. But
Okay.
like in Yom Kippur, like in October 1973, eventually we won with a heavy price, but we won. And I think that they made the biggest mistake that they can make because to touch the nerve of the Israel in such a way is going to be with it. heavy price along the side. And they don't know sometimes the Israelis. Uh, the Israeli spirit, and we are here in Maharashtra, what is the spirit of Shivaji. We have to know what is the spirit of fighting against criminals. And I think that in Israel is even 10 times stronger and harder.
You're absolutely right. My question is, are you apprehensive about other countries in the region joining in? Like Iran has made some talk about this by supporting Hamas, and Hezbollah and Hamas have always been together on this. So, does your country fear Iran joining in either directly or through its proxies like Hezbollah?
We don't want to expand the war, but the word fear in Israel right now is not in the lexicon. We are not
Mhm.
fear, and if they start a war, they will get a war and they will pay a big price. What we saw with the Prime Minister, President Biden, he sent a carrier to the area. It showed to the Lebanese Hezbollah, controlled by the Iranians, don't try to do something
Mhm.
else. I advise to them not make such mistake because you will find yourself even in a worse state that you've been before. And you will pay for it in a very heavy price. That's what my advice, but I'm not controlling what they think, what they want, because they are controlled by
Mhm.
the Iranians. But if they will start, we are ready for that. Right now, there is a lot of forces and a lot of army in the northern part, and our eyes are very open. We don't make mistake twice.
Very, very true. But what is heartening is this: in midst of this, UAE has made a statement actually supporting Israel and basically implying that Israel has every right to defend itself. Do you see other countries in the region also joining, if not openly, then through, backdoor negotiations, supporting Israel in its right to defend itself?
Let me move from national to internal politics. You know,
Mm-hmm.
in there is no big love to Hamas in the Arab world.
Mm-hmm.
When they saw their action against women and kids, I assume that most of the Muslims in the world don't like it. There is right now, spirit, oh, this success, it will pass. Because I think even Muslims don't like criminals and brutal people like the people of Hamas. What they did is even against the Islam and the Muslim world, in my point of view. Now, the more days will pass, they will understand that they don't like animals like that. Uh, there is a sentence in Arabic that I try to translate it into English. I don't know the sentence in Arabic, I know the sentence in Hebrew. If you are not worried from God, I worry from you. Because, and these people, they are, when they're killing 3 years old, girl or boy, completely full families, elderly people, sometimes with the knives, sometimes with the bullets. You are not a human being. Nobody wants to live and to be partner of such a people. They make a mistake not only in the military, also in their status in the Muslim world, because most of the Muslims in the world, they don't like it. They are criminals. But as I said, we have a very good memory. We have a very good forces. They have to stop it to run.
Very right. India has unequivocally supported Israel both on the official level, and you talked about Prime Minister Modi's tweet. But the general support from the ordinary citizens of India has been overwhelmingly in favor of Israel, and it's almost like most of us feel like it's our own country that's at war. It's not just your country. We are in this together. How do you feel about that as a Consul General of?
Messages, the people that know me and people that they don't know me, they send me messages throughout the social media, WhatsApp, telephone calls from variety of people, from politicians to Bollywood stars, from businessmen, from just normal people. And it's unbelievable the support that we got in India, the love that we saw coming from India makes our, I was almost crying. I get, very, very nice. I assume, I don't know who is she. She wrote me, I want to do whatever I can just to help you. Whatever you ask me, I will do. I love Israel, and this is something that actually almost make me cry because I think that the spirit of the Indian people, what we saw, make us a lot of power. You don't understand what is it. What is the power that we get? Sometimes, from very, regular people. The love that we got give us a lot of power. It's sometimes is even more important than ammunition or bombs and rockets and missiles and air force. This is a very more important for us.
Thank you so much, Kobe, for talking to me. And I wish Israel all the best. And this is a war that Israel needs to win because it's not just Israel's war, it's the war of humanity as well. So, wishing you all the best for the times are going to be rough. It's going to be a long war. It's going to be a hard war. But I wish you all the best. And the prayers and wishes of most of the Indians will be with the Israeli people. Once again, thank you very much for sparing the time to talk to me.
Thank you very much, Israeli.
Namaste.
Thank you
Shalom.
so much. Shalom, shalom.
Thank you.